Attention passionate Cleveland, BROWNS. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Cleveland Browns' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Cleveland, BROWNS. Let's get to the news when we talk about the Cleveland Browns, especially in recent years. One of the most intriguing and talked about topics has been their quarterback situation. It's always been a bit of a roller coaster, hasn't it? But this offseason, something different is happening. Something that could really reshape the team's future, and it all centers around the quarterback competition. Now, at first glance, the Browns made it sound like they had a four-man race for the starting spot. Four guys, all vying for that coveted role: Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and SHEDEUR Sanders. Sounds like a pretty competitive camp, right? But here's the kicker. What if I told you that behind the scenes, the competition isn't as wide open as it looks? That the real battle might be between just two of those guys, and the veteran Joe Flacco might be more of a backup or insurance policy than a true contender for the starting job. That's exactly what recent reports and insiders suggest. And if that's true, it could have huge implications for the Browns' season and their plans moving forward. Let's break it down. The Browns, after a few up-and-down seasons, are clearly in a bit of a transition phase. They want stability at quarterback, but they also want youth and potential, especially after trading for Kenny Pickett and drafting Dillon Gabriel in the third round. The team's management, led by GM Andrew Berry, has shown a clear interest in developing young talent, and that's reflected in how they've built this room. They brought in Pickett in March, signaling that they see a lot of potential in him. Pickett, of course, had a solid rookie season with the Steelers, and Cleveland saw enough in him to make that trade. They also went after Dillon Gabriel, an incredibly accurate and poised quarterback from Oregon, who impressed scouts with his mobility, anticipation, and overall well-rounded game. Cleveland invested in him early, bringing him in right after the Combine, and doing extensive work with him during the offseason. It's clear that the Browns see Gabriel as a potential future starter, if not right now, then very soon. And then, of course, there's SHEDEUR Sanders. Yes, the son of legendary DEION Sanders, and a quarterback with a ton of buzz coming out of college. Cleveland took a flyer on him at pick 144 after passing on him multiple times, but they saw value in his athleticism and potential. They believed that his draft slot didn't reflect his true talent, and they took a chance that he could develop into something special. So when you look at this roster, it's pretty clear that the Browns are aiming for a younger, more dynamic quarterback room, one that's built for the future. But what about Joe Flacco? The veteran, the experienced guy who has been around the league for years and knows what it takes to win at this level. Flacco signed with Cleveland in free agency, and while he's still got a lot of football left in him, at 40 years old, it's unlikely he's viewed as the long-term solution. Still, his experience, going 4-1 as a starter in 2023, throwing for over 600 yards and 13 touchdowns, makes him a valuable backup and mentor. Now here's where things get really interesting. Recently, former NFL wide receiver and current analyst T.J. Houshmandzadeh shared some insights on a popular show, suggesting that the Browns' quarterback race might actually be a two-man contest between Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel, and that Joe Flacco, despite being on the roster, isn't really in the mix for the starting job. Houshmandzadeh mentioned that he was told by someone inside the Browns organization that Flacco isn't really part of the equation. That's a pretty significant statement, especially coming from someone with close ties to the league. If that's true, it means the Browns are already leaning toward giving the reins to the younger guys, with the team's focus being on development rather than immediate victory. This aligns perfectly with how Cleveland has assembled their quarterback room. They've invested heavily in the younger talent, trading for Pickett, drafting Gabriel, and signing Sanders as a developmental project. The team's approach seems to be centered around building for the future, rather than relying on Flacco's veteran presence to carry the team this year. Flacco himself has been very professional about it, trusting the coaching staff and their plan. In minicamp and OTAs, he's not been pushing hard for reps, knowing that the team's focus is on evaluating the younger quarterbacks and figuring out who will be the future. But let's pause here for just a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Cleveland Browns news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick, and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let's continue with the big reveal. So what does this all mean for the Browns' upcoming season? Well, it suggests that Cleveland might be gearing up for a transition at quarterback sooner rather than later. They are clearly investing in these young guys because they see something special in them. Kenny Pickett, with his experience in Pittsburgh, has the edge in terms of familiarity, but Dillon Gabriel's talent and poise are undeniable. The Browns see him as a guy who can throw with anticipation, move around in the pocket, and make plays when it counts. They believe that his well-rounded game offers a lot of upside, and that's why they've been so aggressive in scouting and developing him. SHEDEUR Sanders, on the other hand, is a bit of a wild card. His draft position was lower than many expected, but Cleveland's front office saw value in his athleticism and potential for growth. They believe that with the right coaching and development, he could become a different kind of weapon, more of a dual-threat quarterback with a flair that could bring a new dimension to the Browns' offense. The fact that they took him at 144, after passing on him multiple times, shows that they value the upside more than the immediate return. It's a classic gamble, but one that could pay off big if Sanders develops as expected. Now, back to Joe Flacco. While he's certainly the most experienced quarterback on the roster, his role might be more about helping to mentor the younger guys, especially during the grind of training camp and preseason. Flacco himself has acknowledged that he trusts the coaching staff and their plan. He's not making any fuss about the lack of reps in OTAs and minicamp, and he's staying professional, knowing that his job is to be ready when called upon. And honestly, that's a big part of what makes him valuable, his veteran leadership and calm presence in the locker room. Looking ahead, Cleveland's training camp is set to begin in late July, with rookies reporting on July 18 and veterans on July 22. That's when we'll really see how this competition shapes up. Will it be a close battle between Pickett and Gabriel, or will SHEDEUR Sanders start to make a push? And what about Flacco? Will he remain as the experienced backup, or will he be phased out? The preseason games will be crucial, especially the first against the Carolina Panthers on August 8, where we'll get a real sense of who's ready to lead this team. The Browns have always been a team that values a strong defense, a balanced running game, and now, more than ever, a competent and dynamic quarterback. They've built a roster that can compete with anyone when everything clicks, but the quarterback position remains the key to unlocking their full potential. If the young guys develop quickly, Cleveland might be looking at a surprise playoff run, perhaps even pushing for a deep postseason. On the other hand, if the competition drags on or the veterans are forced into the spotlight prematurely, it could create some instability. But history shows us that the Browns are patient, and their front office is willing to give these young quarterbacks the time they need to grow. And let's not forget the division. The AFC North is one of the most competitive divisions in football, home to the Ravens, Bengals, and Steelers, all of whom are hungry and talented. A shift in quarterback dynamics in Cleveland could influence the entire division race. If Cleveland's young guns outperform expectations, they could shake up the entire AFC North hierarchy. Conversely, if the veterans falter or if the team leans too heavily on Flacco, the division might stay as it is, tight, tough, and fiercely competitive. In the end, what makes this story so captivating is the blend of youth and experience, the strategic planning, and the potential for something special to unfold. Cleveland fans have every reason to be excited and maybe a little anxious at the same time. The quarterback position is the heart of the team, and this offseason has set the stage for a dramatic showdown. Whether it's Pickett, Gabriel, Sanders, or Flacco leading the charge, one thing is for sure: the Browns are doing everything they can to get it right. And the upcoming weeks will be crucial in determining how this story unfolds. So, Browns fans, keep your eyes on those training camp reports, stay tuned for preseason battles, and get ready for a season that could be more exciting than any in recent memory. This team is on the cusp of something big, and the quarterback race is just the beginning of what might be a new chapter in Cleveland Browns history. Remember, football is unpredictable, but that's what makes it so thrilling. The Browns are building something special, and we're all here to witness it unfold. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Cleveland Browns. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Cleveland Browns news.